morning and welcome to the program. You're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Monday, May 4th, live from Seoul. I'm Shin Se-min. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at this hour. A sign of the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic. South Korea posts its lowest inflation growth in 6 months as people refrain from spending amid the virus outbreak. When will students be back in school? The South Korean government will announce that timetable today ahead of the eased social distancing guidelines this week. Plus, the South Korean government will begin giving cash payouts starting this Monday to some 2.8 million households living on basic pensions. Our starting point this morning, the nation's slowing inflation. South Korea's consumer inflation rate for April saw its lowest on-year increase in 6 months. According to Statistics Korea on Monday, the country's consumer prices increased 0.1% on-year in April amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The price of industrial products dropped 0.7% on-year, with the price of petroleum products down a whopping 6.7% from a year ago. Meanwhile, prices of agricultural, livestock, and fisheries products rose by 1.8% in April compared to the same period last year. And Statistics Korea said the low inflation rate came about as global oil prices plunged and consumers refrained from dining out as part of social distancing efforts. The South Korean government will start giving out COVID-19 disaster relief payments starting this Monday. The first to receive the money will be the 2.8 million households in the country living off of basic pensions or disability payments. As for other households, they will be able to apply in the next coming days. Our Kim Hyo-sun tells us more.
Some 2.8 million households living off basic pensions or disability payments across South Korea will be receiving emergency disaster relief payments starting Monday. Cash deposit will be wired directly into their bank accounts that they're already using to receive government assistance.
After 5 p.m. on May 4th, you can check whether the payout has been made into the respective bank account you are using to receive your welfare allowance.
Households eligible for these first payments account for about 13% of all households in South Korea. As for the rest of the nation's households, starting from 9 a.m. Korea time on Monday, they can check their household status on the Disaster Relief Fund homepage and start applying from May 11th. To prevent people applying all at once and overloading the system, the government will implement a 5-day rotation system according to the last digit of one's birth year, just like the country rationed the buying of protective face masks. 1 million Korean won, or a little over $800 will be given to 4-person households, while single to 3-person households will receive less. People can apply to receive the payment via their credit or debit cards, which will be given out in the form of card points 2 days after they apply. You can also apply in person even if you are not the head of the household by applying in person at community service centers. Those payments will be made in either prepaid card or regional gift certificates. The money needs to be spent by August 31st, where it will be considered a donation and used to support those who've lost their jobs or have been put on unpaid leave. For those who do not apply, the money will also be considered a donation. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
And South Korea's Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun is set to deliberate a new $767 million emergency fund targeting job stabilization during a cabinet meeting happening now as we speak. Now, this is a follow-up to President Moon Jae-in's special employment stability measures that involves spending some $8.1 billion to keep people in work and support the livelihoods of 2.8 million workers. The Prime Minister is also likely to call for full support to cushion the economic impact of the COVID-19 outbreak on the employment and local consumption front. Also this Monday, President Moon, during a weekly meeting with his top aides this afternoon, is likely to press the importance of caution ahead of this week's easing of social distancing regulations. And the South Korean government will be announcing the dates for students to return to school in line with the eased social distancing guidelines later today. The Education Ministry says that the announcement will be made later today by Minister Yoo Eun-hye at a briefing scheduled for 4 p.m. Korea time. It is highly likely that schools will resume sometime between May 18th and 20th, as this will give health authorities enough time to gauge the impact of the so-called Golden Holiday Week on the spread of the virus. The government is considering a gradual reopening starting with high school seniors, and the schedule on reopening kindergartens will also be outlined during the briefing today. The COVID-19 pandemic has prompted a number of South Korea's largest companies to lay off its workers. Those in the entertainment and food sectors have been the hardest hit, as our Kim Do-yeon tells us more.
The COVID-19 outbreak has left many of South Korea's movie theaters empty. There were only around 1.8 million viewers in March, one-eighth the number of viewers from the same time the previous year. CGV, one of the largest cinema chains in South Korea, even had to temporarily close one-third of its theaters. Other large companies, mainly in the entertainment, food and service sectors, have also been directly hit by the COVID-19 outbreak. Korean business analysis website CEO Score looked at the number of national pension contributors to gauge the scale of COVID-19's impact on employment. It found that the number of contributors had dropped by some 10,800 during February and March. This shows a fall from the same period last year when the number of people paying into the pension pot increased by some 3,400. The retail sector was particularly badly hit, with more than 4,000 job losses in February and March. By company, CJCGV had the most layoffs, with around 2,300, followed by CJ Foodville and Starbucks Korea.
Looking at the companies that had the most dismissals like CJ, CGV, Lotte Shopping and Daiso, it is those that were directly affected by social distancing due to the COVID-19 outbreak.
It's a different story for the delivery sector though. Coupang, a parcel delivery service company, hired 913 new employees in February and March, possibly benefiting from the increase in people ordering products for delivery during the social distancing period. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
And the number of global COVID-19 cases now has surpassed 3.5 million, and the number of death toll worldwide is over 247,000. Infections in Russia rose by a record daily amount on Sunday alone, with over 10,600 new cases, with more than half coming from the city of Moscow. However, much of Europe is preparing to ease lockdown measures as the spread seems to have slowed. Italy, once deemed the world's hotspot, reported Sunday its lowest daily death toll since the first day of its lockdown. Italy's death toll stands at almost 29,000, with at least 210,000 infections. Germany will continue easing of its lockdown measures this week, while France will partially lift its lockdown on May 11th. With South Korea seeming to have successfully gotten the COVID-19 outbreak under control, nations around the world have been asking South Korea to share the secret of its success. In fact, the South Korean government is to hold a webinar on this Monday afternoon to share its know-how and experiences. Our Choi Jung-yun reports.
From its massive testing capability to strong quarantine measures, South Korea has been winning global recognition for its tackling of the coronavirus pandemic. As of the end of April, some 50 countries and international organizations have asked the South Korean government to share its COVID-19 experiences via online meetings and seminars. To reopen one of its international airports, the Colombian government went online with some 70 South Korean government officials, learning more about the quarantining of arrivals and the mobilization of self-quarantine apps. Incheon International Airport, the major hub for global flights in South Korea, has not seen any COVID-19 cases among 77,000 workers. Webinar is another window for sharing what has since been dubbed K-quarantine. South Korea has held 3 meetings so far. Health authorities from 75 countries, including the U.S. and Russia, have participated, and about 1,000 people logged in from South American and ASEAN countries. This is a South Korean doctor giving one of the web seminars.
And the last is preemptive isolation word. This is sort of unique. This has a 3 grade here. If patients have a very high epidemiological risk and symptoms, and they're going to put right here.
South Korea will hold 5 international web seminars starting this Monday. Medical experts, epidemiologists, along with government officials will participate. They'll be held regularly until July and have English and Russian translations. Different topics are to be discussed, from national policies on quarantine measures to clinical treatments for the virus. The health ministry expects this to be a channel that will also inform the world about South Korea's technological prowess. Choi Jung-yoon, Arirang News.
Shifting focus, South Korea's presidential office says North Korean leader Kim Jong-un does not appear to have undergone surgery, which was rumored to be the case of his absence from the public eye. A senior official noted on Sunday that some reports claiming that there has been a change in the way Kim walks, but the presidential office in South Korea does not believe this to be true. Kim attended a ceremony last Friday for the completion of a fertilizer factory outside Pyongyang, his first public appearance after a 20-day absence that triggered speculation about his health conditions. The South Korean official added that not only did Kim not have surgery, he did not undergo a minor procedure either. The official, however, did not give evidence as to how that judgment was reached. And as for reports claiming the fertilizer factory is involved in uranium extraction, the official said he doesn't place much trust in such reports. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says Washington's negotiations with Pyongyang over the regime's denuclearization will resume now that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is back from his almost 3-week-long absence. Pompeo also said shots fired across the inter-Korean border by North Korea on Sunday morning were likely accidental. Our Lee Seung-jae tells us more.
With North Korean leader Kim Jong-un re-emerging into the spotlight for the first time in weeks, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has reaffirmed Washington's stance on denuclearizing the Korean peninsula. Speaking to ABC News This Week on Sunday, Pompeo was asked if he knew what Kim was doing during the period he was laying low. Pompeo responded by saying there wasn't much he could share, and regardless, Washington's mission remains the same, namely to convince the North Koreans to give up their nuclear weapons, to verify the same, and to then create a brighter future for the North Korean people. Pompeo added the mission has been something President Trump has been focused on since he became president, and something Washington will continue to work on. Pompeo was also asked for his take on the multiple shots fired by North Korea across its border with South Korea. Pompeo said he believed the shots were accidental, adding the South Korean side returned fire, but there was no loss of life on either side. The two Koreas exchanged gunfire around a rural guard post on Sunday, raising tensions just a couple of days after North Korean state media showed Kim Jong-un visiting a factory. The report covered Kim's first public appearance since April 11th. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Despite global economic uncertainties caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, Samsung Electronics' R&D investment hit a record high in the first quarter this year. The South Korean tech giant revealed Monday that its investment from January to March marked around $4.4 billion, breaking the previous record set in the last quarter of 2018. As Samsung had pledged in March to continue investing despite the pandemic, its R&D investment in 2020 is expected to surpass $16 billion. Samsung Electronics also says it plans to pour around $108 billion into system semiconductors through 2030.
Good morning. We're seeing continued early summer-like temperatures today. Certain parts of the country, with some breezy and wet weather on Sunday, will feel the warmth come back. So dry weather alerts have been lifted down south, while a dry weather advisory remains in place for upper parts of the country. So please be careful with fire, and good air quality expected nationwide today. It's going to be dry, sunny, and warm up north, highs hovering in the upper 20s. It's going to be warmer in the Gyeongsangdo provinces and surrounding regions under sunny skies nationwide. Children's Day tomorrow is looking sunny and warm for most parts, while southern parts of the country could see light showers from mid-afternoon. Now, Tuesday also marks Ippa, the beginning of summer according to seasonal customs. And right on cue, we're going to have early summer-like weather for the rest of the week. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for views around the globe.
That does it for us for this hour on Arirang News. As always, thank you for watching and goodbye.